Hello, hello, hello. This is Nicholas with DIVO-Ted Talks, and I'm excited to be here with you. I am recording in a different location. It's still in the same studio. I just didn't feel like moving all of my setup over into that room, although I do like my big logo on the back wall. Anyway, so I wanted to take a moment and kind of dig into things that have been on my mind. In particular, you know, this tendency to jump to conclusions. I mean, it's very natural to jump to conclusions. Once we're going to have the certainty of resolution or a certainty within the understanding of what is happening so that we have a sense of control and a sense of ability to protect ourselves. Like, this is an innate human reaction, and I would dare say that it's an animalistic reaction. And that's okay. I think, though, that we see this embellishment of it, this caricature of what that protective mechanism is in humans because of this world where we're constantly pulling and encouraging and dragging and just trying to push, when in reality, if we took a deep breath and calmed down and relaxed a little bit, we might be able to interact more healthfully. There's so many ways to play with words. And we might be able to connect at a deeper level were this to be true. Unfortunately, I think in the society that we live in, there is a right and wrong, and there is a right way to do things and a technically wrong way to do things. And societally, this keeps getting ingrained into us, and it helps segregate us more, right? In particular, in America where I live, we're in a capitalist society, and that segregates us based on capital, access to capital, or ability to earn capital, right? And within that framework, they discriminate. And I don't mean discrimination necessarily in that same, oh, I don't like you because you have less money, although you do get treated differently depending on how much capital you have, right? I mean, the whole thing really lines up with racism. It is all one and the same. Any of the ists and any of the isms all are related. And discrimination does happen, maybe not necessarily at a persecution type level, but I would dare say that the way the have-nots continue to have not and the way that the wealthy continue to get more wealthy, there may be some correlative pathways of thinking there. But that's neither here nor there. What I really want to dig into is, what does this mean for us? What does this mean for our ability to transcend the way of the world, the way to transcend the status quo, and a way to be more than what other people before us and maybe even after us have, right? Setting a new standard of showing up, setting up a new standard of being present and in the moment, and focusing on enlightenment and evolution for oneself and for others. Yoga calls us continually, over and over again, to clear the mind, clear the senses of all the things that are clogging it. In Ayurveda, we would say having solid or very robust Agni to help burn away and transform anything that is less than the level that you want to achieve. Or it helps you transform those things into the level that you want to be. And so, Dr. Lad says that anybody with good Agni, there's no poison in the world that could kill you. But if you have poor Agni, you could eat the best food in the world and still be poisoned by it. I'm misquoting him, by the way. I'm more or less in the vicinity of it. That being said, we're continually called to cleanse and purify and bring ourselves to a level of perception, whether we're transmitting or whether receiving, by continually cleaning these areas of interaction with the world. And it's not easy. this world is constantly asking things of us. This world is constantly discriminating and sorting and judging and placing us into boxes. And sometimes we listen to those boxes, or we listen to those segregations that, in my opinion, are just artificially created. Like, if something can be created, it can be transformed. And if something can be transformed, it can become anything, anywhere. Now, some might argue with me about that, but it depends on the time frame we're talking about. If we're talking about 5 minutes, yeah, you're probably right. Right? You can't get there from there. However, if we're talking at a grander scale, what is the transformation capability of a soul if you have a millennia or even a decade? Like, how many decades have passed? I feel like I have a new life. I feel like a new person. I feel like I've lived a ton of lifetimes in this one life. I would say that I'm working out a lot of karma, and yeah, sometimes it's rough, and sometimes it feels really amazing, and sometimes it's somewhere in the middle, and that's okay. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for me? What does this mean for the betterment of the world? It's a great question. I don't know that I know the answer. I know that each day I am working hard to show up the best I can, be as cleansed, purified as I can through either daily practice or through contemplation and or things that help me strip away or strip bare the lower vibrational aspects of me, lower vibrational aspects of my existence. All right, friends, here's something to work on. Take notice of where you are segregating and putting people into boxes and labeling and or restricting your ability to see them for who they really are based on preconceived notions or even baggage that you are carrying, right? Try not to judge that in and of itself, right? It's only natural to feel like it's wrong and you shouldn't do it, but in reality, that's just going to make you hold on to it longer, because if you're fighting it, you're not feeling it and releasing it. And so that would be my next task, is just notice, right? Just notice. And maybe it's hard at first, and maybe it gets better. Maybe it's continually hard. No worries. Just keep trying and be aware of the fact that you're trying. Keep it in the forefront of your thoughts. Maybe even put it as a part of your daily practice, so that it's something that you can continually refine. And then perhaps choosing to let go of those labels, or let go of anything that may have colored or influenced your perceptions. That may be a hard ask. That may be a big pull, a big haul, whatever. I don't know. A heavy lift. It might be a heavy lift. There's the adage that I was trying to produce. So, one of our phrases here is be well and be free. There is a freedom in letting go of all of these labels and structural necessity to do things and perform things and show up in that in a specific way, right? I mean, society is teaching us from a very early age, there's a right way, there's a wrong way, there is this way and that way. And honestly, if there's multiple perspectives on how something should be done, is there really a right way or a wrong way? I don't know. I mean, when that happened when I finally became aware of religion and stuff, I was very Christian. I was nothing before, but I wasn't trying to not be anything. I just hadn't been exposed to it. And then I was very Christian, but then I learned of these other faiths, and I was like, well, if all of these are just as strongly believed and felt by these groups of people, which one is right and which one is wrong? And again, this is part of my practice. I still have many things where I'm like, well, this is the right way. And what I have learned, going back to an earlier podcast where I talked about, proximity impacts perception, is that my proximity to things in any given moment will make things more right versus less right, but that could change just as quickly depending on the assortment of people and the circumstances there. And so having an unconditional perspective that this is the right way for now, but that may change in a few moments, or maybe it'll hold true for a little while longer. And just really not squeezing it and holding too tight a grip, like a loose holding of the idea. All right, my friends, be well, be free.